Sis and Tell, a whole lot of talk, a whole lot of nothing. Amanda does stand up, Alison's on TV, and when they hop on the phone, you already know it's the place you wanna be. Sis and Tell, the podcast that's so sweet. Oh, Sis and Tell, Sis and Tell, a whole lot of talk about, a whole lot of nothing. Sis and Tell.
Hey, Allie.
Hey, man. What's going on?
You know, the huge.
All right. I have a great story for you. Sorry. I'm just jumping right in.
I don't really care what you have going
on. That was rhetorical. How are you doing? I don't care. Okay. So anybody who has listened to this podcast for the past 4+ years knows there is something you love to do. Now, don't say it yet, but I'm gonna sort of like game show mode. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna tell you. And give the studio audience time to guess in their own vehicle or on their walk or wherever they listen to our podcast. So if you know Amanda, you know she loves to blank a blanker. Now, keep it PG.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Okay. Now, we have a little bit of time. Okay, Amanda. What is it, and we have not discussed this in advance, what is it that you love to do that you love to blank a blanker?
I love to scam a scammer.
Yay! That's exactly it. So, of course, knowing that you are the ultimate scammer of scammers, I immediately thought of you when I heard and saw this story this week. I don't know if you saw it, but there is a grandma in New York who is a retired 911 operator. Her name is Jean, I think.
I'm getting this right. Her.
Don't you love her?
Yes.
She is a grandma who got a call from a scammer. And as we know, this is like rampant. There is like $4 billion lost, I think, every year to these terrible people. And as I always say, if they would put their energy to good, think how much good they could do in the world. Instead, they're ripping people off of billions of dollars a year. So she gets a call from a guy who claims that one of her grandchildren has been put in jail because of a drunk driving episode or something. And she needs to pay $8,000 to get him out of jail. So she says she gets these calls all the time. She always hangs up. She knows that they're scams. But for some reason, she just thinks, okay, I'm going to play along with this guy. So she goes in, she keeps keeping him on the line, says, don't call his parents. They'll be so upset. I'll handle it. How do I get the money? Where do I put the money? He said, well, you have to pay me in cash. I mean, it's all, it's just as far-fetched as you can imagine.
Who has cash? I don't even have $5 cash.
Exactly.
Right? Like $8,000 in cash.
I'm more likely to have like $100 chip from Vegas in my purse than $100 of cash.
I have like some pennies stuck to some like old pieces of chewing gum in the bottom of like some old purses. That's about it. That's
exactly
as much cash as I have.
So she keeps them and she starts scamming him, said, okay, I will pay you. How does this work? And he's going to come to her house.
No.
So, yes.
That sounds dangerous. Did he already have her address?
I guess, how did he even know that this person was her grandchild? Like, I guess he knew the grandchild's name, etc. I mean, they go pretty deep down.
This happened to Aaron's grandmother. She got a call, and she lived to be like almost 101. She's no longer with us, but she got a call from someone pretending to be her grandchild, and she thought it was, but she immediately was like, he didn't even say a name. She immediately pinpointed one specific grandchild. I guess everyone's got a grandkid.
That's hilarious.
That is most likely to be in prison and need to be bailed out, right? So she immediately said, "Is this you?" And I don't want to call out the grandchild. And he's like, "Yeah, Grandma." And she's like, "Okay." And then she took a second, was like, "This doesn't seem right."
Yeah. So it happens, and this is the typical scam. I don't know how they convince these people that their grandchild is in jail. I wonder if Mommy and Daddy would ever fall for it, but it could be.
And it's the same stories. Like, can we get original? Like, I feel like it's, and I'm going to keep this PG, but I feel like it's like how porn has the same stories over and over again. And I'm like, can we please get a writer on here?
I know.
This is silly. Can
but
we
here's
come
the
up
thing.
with a new
if
scenario?
If it ain't broken,
right,
they're not fixing it.
But they're sharing it. It's not like there's one scammer. It's the trend. It's like there's a scam trend.
Yeah. So anyway, so she works with the Nassau County Police in New York, and they are waiting at bay. And this guy shows up. I'll tell you, what I'm most impressed about, he showed up. And when you see the video, this has been on like NBC Nightly News and in the morning shows. He shows up. I got to give him credit because he's wearing a mask and not a rubber mask, like a KN95 type mask, like a COVID mask. So I'm like, so he cares enough about the health of others to wear the mask, but he doesn't care about the sanctity of like people's property. That to me is so ironic. Anyway, he shows up. She hands him this envelope full of the quote unquote $8,000 in cash, which is really just rolled up paper towels. That feels like cash. Who knew? And they have this video, like a Ring video of him then walking off the porch. The two cops tackle him, arrest him. It was very exciting. And I mean, it's incredible. And I mean, it was like, it's almost, watching Law and Order or CSI or something in real life.
They need to do more. They need to turn this into a show like To Catch a Predator. Like, it's like that, but like the predator's going after your grandma and her money.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the name of the show could be Don't Scam a Grandma.
Yeah. I love it. And I feel like we need to play my most recent prank that I did where I pretended to be a grandma and who was getting scammed.
Oh my gosh, that was pretty hilarious.
Because we never talked about it. I talked about it afterwards, and you're like, why didn't you bring this up on the podcast?
I know. Well, tell us the backstory, and then I'll play a little excerpt because it is pretty hilarious.
I mean, the backstory is, number one, we still have a landline, which is ridiculous, and I keep it for a couple of reasons. It's so cheap, but also, like, I get a lot of just telemarketing calls and then these scams, and it's 9 out of 10 times, it's a scam. It is someone.
That's why you keep your landline?
No,
I'm worried that that's the reason.
I'm not going to go into why we keep it, but the 9
I have one too, by the way. I'm still
for
old
fodder,
school.
right?
Yeah.
I keep it for fodder. But 9 out of 10 times it's someone like trying to gain remote access to my computer, and then then they want like a ransom. This one, oh my gosh, I'm trying to even remember. This was because I did this in December, so this person was trying to get access to like our cable box.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And I didn't really, and we don't have cable. So I knew immediately it was a scam. And he was trying to get me to give like the router number on the box. But it's so like, I don't even plan what I'm going to do. It's all improvised. I don't even have anything in my head.
But by the way, what's the end goal in that scam? If you get a router number from someone's cable box, can you steal the cable? I mean,
don't even know. I don't know what it. I don't know what it was.
It's a pretty specific scam.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes.
I have no idea because.
By the way, we still have a landline and we have cable boxes. We are so old school in this house. I'm pretty sure if you look around, there's going to be like a abacus and a speak and spell somewhere. So.
Oh my God, I love speak and spell. Oh man, the kids these days, they don't even know. Like the fact that we had like this one game that all it did was speak and spell.
Literally, it just spoke and spelled.
I mean, like,
endless entertainment, right?
How sad were our toys?
And it wasn't even like, it didn't even need a grand name, right? It wasn't even called like the Spellorama or the Speakster. No, it was called the Speak and Spell. Like it just, everything was very clarified. You never had to guess what something might be based on its title.
And did the Speak and Spell really need to be that big?
Right?
It was like bigger than a laptop and it did one thing.
Right. And it didn't even do it that well. Like I'm pretty sure it was based off of very simple phonics. And if you put that to the test today, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be able to speak or spell half the words that have been invented.
Now there's like an app. There's probably like a speak and spell app. But that voice.
Well, it's called Google Translate, or it's there. You can go into any country and translate.
It's called Alexa. Can you spell this for me?
Right. It's called spell check on my Word document. So, that's so funny. All right. So the guy wants your cable box router.
Mm-hmm. He wanted that. Well, I know we never got to it because I kept on giving him the runaround as his grandma.
And then you pretended to be an older woman, and we have to be careful when we categorize you as an older woman. Let's say like in her 90s, like really, yeah,
old.
Yeah, old.
Yes.
Well, because I know Mommy's listening to this, and she's like, "Well, what are you saying? What's an older
Am
woman?"
I older?
Right,
I'm
you're not old,
older.
Mommy. Yeah, you know. And speaking of like, Mommy and Daddy gave up their landline this week. That's a
By
whole
the
other
way,
story.
this
Yeah.
was can we take a break from the scamming for a second, because this was devastating to me. This was this was our parents got rid of our so first of all, Allison, you moved to Birmingham where we grew up when you were like 2, but all 3 of us pretty much
First of
grew
all,
up
I moved to Birmingham when I was 3 months old.
3 months old. Okay, so we've all okay. For some reason, I thought you were 2.
That's
but
okay. No.
That's just when Stuart was born. That's neither here nor there. But we have essentially all 3 of us, all 3 of the Goldstein kids, grew up in this one house for our entire childhood.
I didn't move into that house when I was 3 months old, but yeah.
But okay, you
Yeah.
get what I'm
Well,
saying.
I'm just clarifying.
Okay, so sorry, fact checked. Thank you for fact checking me.
What does the speak and spell say? You are wrong.
You are wrong. Al, were you 2 years old when you moved into the house? How old were you?
Oh, I don't know. But we definitely lived out near Eastwood Mall.
Yeah.
You didn't live out there with us.
No,
And
Stuart also grew up in our childhood home
I'm pretty
for his
sure.
entire existence.
Anyway, I can't, Mountaindale, is that where I grew up first? I have very specific memories of where I grew up, but I don't know if they're fabricated or
Right.
so, but I can picture the first house that you did not live in.
But anyway,
this has been our childhood home.
So childhood home, we of course had a landline. There's a wall phone in the kitchen with a 700-foot phone cord, and they got rid of the landline. And I don't know why Daddy had to tell us, and I think it's because there's a sense of guilt, because it was as if he sold our childhood home. Getting rid of the landline.
Right.
He was like, "I've got some news." And he went through his whole thought pattern, the whole thought process of why he got rid of the landline, how much money he was saving.
Yeah.
I don't know why he told us, other than he probably had like a tinge of guilt.
Oh, I think he had no guilt. It was all pride based. It was,
Oh,
guess
you think
what?
he was showing off?
Oh, absolutely.
Guess how much? You're right.
Guess how
What am
much
I
we
thinking?
saved. Oh, why did we
Yeah.
even have it? And also
Why
their
do you have
landline.
your landline?
And we have this too, which is more annoying than having a landline, is we have this caller ID linked up to our landline like Mommy and Daddy had, and it announces the number and who's calling.
Yeah, that's what Mommy and Daddy have
Yeah,
too.
it's horrible. It's
Or
a
had.
horrible device. They had that, right.
Yeah, it's
So.
annoying. Call from.
And it's like, if it's, anonymous, it's like, anonymous. You know what? That's the new speak and spell. I think speak and spell grew up to be the caller ID that announces the caller. It
fired.
sounds just like them. They've got to be related. They've got to be
like,
related.
and poor guy, he's like, I had this really fun job early in my career.
Right. He's doing TED Talks
I
like
was
way
working
back
with
in
kids.
the 80s.
Now I'm just the announcer for your caller ID.
Well, I don't know if we've talked about it. Have we talked about the Hadassah line before? Because
No, we
that's
haven't.
my
It's
favorite
getting there.
story.
But
Yeah.
they got rid of the home phone. That was really sad.
Yeah.
Mommy, we actually had two lines, and Mommy was volunteering for this she was president of this Jewish organization, and I guess had to make so many phone calls.
Actually, the Speak and Spell would like to correct you. Fact check. It's not a Jewish organization. It is technically a women's Zionist organization. So
Okay.
they support Israel, but you don't have to be Jewish to join Hadassah.
Okay.
That's a little known fact.
Yeah. Okay.
As a life member, I felt like I had to correct you. So there you go. Are you done? Are you fact checking me? Are you looking it up?
No, I was actually looking up speak and spell. It's
Oh.
funny because I was like going to describe it as a giant calculator, right?
It does look like a giant calculator.
Because do you know who it's made by?
Who?
Can you name, if you had to name one calculator company?
Oh, yeah,
there was-
Casio. No.
Well, I mean,
Is that a watch company?
I mean, Casio is known for Texas Instruments.
Oh,
was
Texas
actually,
Instruments, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Oh, that's
I-
funny. That makes total sense.
let's see.
Spell green. Green. That is correct. Now spell mouse.
The funniest thing is, like, those are the exercises we used to do with our kids. How lazy were our parents? right? Like that they gave us this giant, oversized orange calculator to practice our spelling. They couldn't even take the time to like make flashcards or to like call out our spelling words. They would just say like, go to the speak and spell.
Well, I do that with Alexa. I have to say, Alexa is my speak and spell. The kids are like, how do you spell this? I'm like, ask Alexa.
Oh, gosh. All right, hold on. Back to the home phone. So this is my
Yeah.
favorite story because when Mommy was president of Hadassah, they installed a dedicated line because this is, you have to imagine, folks, this is prior to call waiting. So if you were on the phone, it was just busy. And apparently Hadassah business was urgent business.
Can we play the busy signal sound for the children who are listening to this? Who are like, what?
All right. This is okay. So this is what it sounded like if you got to a phone that was busy. The most annoying sound on the face of the planet. Like literally that may
Frustrating.
come in second to the sound of the old dial-up for internet.
The dial-up.
Let's play that sound in case you don't know. And you can go on our website and vote. There's actually no poll, but you can just go on our Facebook page
Now
and
I
tell
have
us
to make
which
a
is
poll.
more annoying. Which is more annoying? Okay, you just heard the sound for busy, but this is the dial-up sound we used to hear when we were getting on the internet. Yeah, that's a hard call. That's a hard call.
That's annoying, but I can one up that with the sound of when you think you're calling someone's phone number, but they turned on the fax machine and you get the fax machine sound. Now play that one.
Okay. Yeah, that's annoying because it's an annoying sound and annoying that you get the fax machine. That's when
Right.
people they have one number for both. That's just crazy.
And you couldn't call them to be like, "Hey man, you got to turn off your fax machine," because there was
you
no
get the
cell
fax
phone,
machine.
right? And the fax machine was on.
So they'd install this phone, and this is back in, I want to say 78? Were you born? Do you remember this? I don't even know if you were
No.
alive. 77? Maybe you were a baby, but
I was born when Star Wars came out.
okay. So this was revolutionary for the 70s, or at least luxurious, right? To have two lines in your house. But let's be clear, the Hadassah phone was one dedicated line on a single dedicated phone in the kitchen, and the kitchen wasn't gigantic to begin with. So one wall, closer to the stove, of course, had the Hadassah line, and the other had the regular line. So anytime, if you were like upstairs and the Hadassah phone was ringing, that was quite the trek. And the the yelling through the house was always, "The Hadassah phone is ringing! It's the Hadassah phone!" I mean, as if Mommy were
Yes.
president of the United States and it was the red phone. And,
Right.
and, we were about to, somebody was about to drop a bomb on us. So after 2 years of her being president of Hadassah, and of course she did use it for Hadassah calls, but we took liberties and would use it if somebody was on the other line. Daddy decided this was way too convenient, so we were just going to go ahead and keep the Hadassah line and pay for it. But we never added it to the main phone line. So it was always a second line on a single phone in the kitchen, which
There's one
never
phone
really
jack.
made sense. One phone
Well,
jack, yeah.
Do you know what happened? This was actually kind of sad.
Uh-oh. Why?
When I was like 8 or 9, Mommy and Daddy for Hanukkah installed a phone jack in my bedroom.
Okay.
So I could have a phone in my bedroom, which sounds
That sounds crazy.
sounds like another decade, right? You're going to get a phone jack in your room for Hanukkah. And it was supposed to be the Hadassah line.
Oh,
I
that
was
was a good
supposed-
idea.
It was such a good idea. I was supposed to get that line in my room, but whoever installed it, we'll call it Bell South or whoever was the phone company in Birmingham at the time, they screwed up. So I had the old number, and it was so sad. I was like, oh,
So you had a phone, but it
right.
just didn't have a dedicated line, right?
right.
Right.
Yeah.
And Daddy's, if he were on the podcast, he'd be telling the story about back when in his day they had the party line. So they couldn't even afford to have their own dedicated phone line. You had to share phone numbers and phone lines with your friends.
How does that work?
I don't know. Can you imagine?
I don't even. Is that
picking
why
up the
they
phone
say,
and going, "Oops, sorry, you're using it."
I'd like to understand, like, if you watch old movies and old TV shows, they're like, Sarah, dial K9 for me.
Right.
Like, you couldn't even,
right.
were there no, there
the
was no
operator
dial?
had to do it for you.
Right. And we had one of those old phones. We had, it's probably in the crawl space somewhere. We had this old-timey phone where you would just pick it up and put it to your ear, and then there was it had like one thing to put to your ear, and then you would speak into the phone that was on the wall. It was a wall phone, but it was like wooden.
2 separate apparatuses. You pick up the earpiece and you
Yeah.
spoke into the little microphone. Yeah, and the
there was
churning.
a crank.
There was
Yeah.
a crank.
There was a crank.
Yeah,
And
and
at
by the way, you could use it. It was a working phone. It was an old
Right?
phone that worked, but you did
Thank
one.
you.
Yeah, 1 crank for 1, 2 cranks for 2, etc., and 10 cranks for 0. So if you were trying to dial 1-800, it was a lot of cranking.
You couldn't do that to dial the radio station if you're trying to win something.
No,
It
but
would just
by the
take
way,
too long.
mommy was secretly using that and her Richard Simmons Sweating to the Oldies tapes as her mode of exercise. So
She had really strong wrists. Yeah, I thank you for saying that phone, that really old school phone, it was like from the 1920s.
Right.
Like, thank you for saying that it worked, because in my brain, I was like, I swear to God, I have a memory of there being a dial tone on that phone, but maybe it's a false memory.
no,
And
it did. It worked.
thank you. Okay. God, thank you. That is real memory. All right. I feel so
And by the
much
way,
better.
when you say 1920s, it makes me think of this new meme out that says, just realized today that the difference between 1970, which is when I was born, between 1970 and 2022 is the same difference between 1970 and 1918.
That's crazy.
Let that sink in.
Interestingly enough, there were both these like pandemics going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's not go there. We're gonna
happy.
We're gonna be COVID free today. Hey,
Okay.
so Hadassah phoned, and
Yeah.
then that was always a dedicated line. So they got rid of the Hadassah line once they got call waiting, because there was no need for this second line. Nobody was really using it. Oh, so now back to the scammer.
Yeah.
So you scammed the guy. You made him think you were a 90-year-old who had
we should
very
just
old TVs.
Yeah.
Do you have a part we can play?
Yes, I sure do.
Okay, this is funny, folks.
I'm going to turn on the TV box. We have a lovely TV. It's surrounded by a wooden frame. It's very heavy. I've had it in my house since 1973.
Oh, wow. How many TVs do you have, ma'am?
Oh, I've got this television, and I've got a small television, and I use it in the bathroom. Sometimes it takes me longer than I'd like to use the bathroom, and I need some entertainment. So it's a cute little 13-inch black and white TV with a handle on it. And I like to watch the Today Show. Do you watch the Today Show?
Yes.
It's such a good show.
How many TVs do you have?
Just
How many TVs do you have?
I have just those 2 TVs.
2 TVs?
Yes,
Can you please tell me how many boxes do you have?
I have boxes. Oh, I've got the keepsake box that I keep all of my old pictures in. I've got a jewelry box that I keep. It's really costume jewelry. I love to wear an accent necklace. Turquoise is always on trend. And I've got some boxes that I keep.
Listen, ma'am, listen to me. Just tell me how many boxes do you have?
I'm naming all the boxes.
Yes, receiver boxes, cable boxes, ma'am. How many
Oh,
boxes do you
I
have?
don't understand. What is a receiver box? Like my mailbox? Because I receive mail in that. Is that what you mean?
No, ma'am, cable boxes attached to your TV.
Oh, a cable box? I don't know.
Yes.
There's cables coming out of the... Are you calling the TV a box? Because there's cables coming out of the box that go into the wall.
I have to tell you, I'm laughing as hard now as I was the first time I saw that. I was dying when I first saw that. And I can be pretty picky about the things I laugh at, especially when it comes to you.
Yeah, I was about to say. I know you don't always get my humor.
I get it. I just don't get it. Yeah.
Right.
But that was hilarious. So how did it end? How did you finally get off, or did he finally figure out you were scamming him?
Usually what happens is they get frustrated and they're just like, I'm going to call you back later. I don't like to give in to, I don't like to reveal the fourth wall, so to speak, because then they get mad and they go crazy because it's happened.
Like when you actually admit that you're not the old lady.
Right. When they figure it out, if you do it a certain way where you're too over the top, then they get mad and they curse you out. They use language you've never heard in your life. And then they start naming off all the information they have on you.
Wow.
And it gets pretty scary. Yeah. So, yeah, I know you don't always get my humor, but my husband gets my humor so much before that I've gotten a call from him. And it's been a 3-way call with a scammer on the other line. And he's like, hold on, let me see if Bubby's home. Bubby? And then I know, of course I know immediately. And I'm always like, Bubby's not here. She's napping, Right.
The good news is, so now we have evidence that Aaron is turning porn on its head. Because, when he says, let's do a 3-way, he means... He means let's scam a scammer together, honey. So he's just combined those two things.
That's right.
He's brought new life to both.
I do have this one bit that I'm just waiting to do, and I usually don't pre-plan because it's hard to. But this one, I several times a week, I usually get calls from the people who want you to purchase an extended warranty on your car. And that's not a scam. It's just annoying, right? But maybe it is a scam. I don't know if they're trying to get you to give over your title or that information or whatever. But so my idea is my character would actually be one of the Weasleys from Harry Potter. And I'm trying to get an extended warranty on my Nimbus 2000. So
is that your broom?
That's the
Oh, okay.
That's the broom for Quidditch. So I wanted to see how long it would take them to catch on to that, and it depends which country they're from. But if they're from here, then they'll be like, But we'll see. I'll see if that'll work. But I've got that planned out.
So I actually have an idea for a sketch. I mean, not a stand-up comedy sketch, but here's my idea for SNL. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you know how, and now it's back to my football passion. So you know how when you're watching football, and maybe you don't watch, but on college or professional football, the new trend is, and not so new, is that when the camera is on the coach, they've got like a clipboard in front of their face. And I assume it's because people, have you noticed this?
No, I don't watch football.
Oh.
I mean, rewind. I don't want but to even speak, they have a clipboard. Is it because they're cursing and they don't want people to see?
No, well, maybe, but it's really because they've got their headset on and they're, barking out plays, and they don't want somebody to be watching them on camera, reading their lips, and then telling the other side, right?
Oh.
Which I think is,
does that mean
could happen.
Does that mean it's happened? I mean.
Right. So I'm thinking, what happened to create this? Or was it just a paranoia? I think there was a scandal in baseball once where someone was reading their signs and interpreting them. And, because
it's like those people.
It's like breaking a code.
Yeah. People in World War II.
Exactly. The old code breakers are now trying to cheat in baseball and football. So there must have been, I'll have to research that. Something must have happened at some point for them to start this, or else it's just a universal paranoia that there are lip readers out there working for these football leagues and, wanting to ruin their plays by reading their lips and then telling the other team what they're going to do. In any case, it's a thing. Next time you watch football, just watch it. They've all got some sort of clipboard or something in front of their face because anytime they talk, in case the camera's on them, and the camera's always on them. So I think SNL should do a skit of a bunch of football coaches sitting at dinner in a restaurant with their menus in front of their faces. And the whole time they're talking I'm going to order the shrimp scampi. Well, what are you going to order? I don't know. Yeah. And Anyway, in my head, it's very funny. I know you're not laughing because you haven't seen the actual football coaches doing it.
But also,
this is the football coach restaurant skit. Just mark my words. If it comes out, it's because somebody passed this on to SNL and thought it was a good idea.
I'm also going to say, welcome to my world of writing comedy and coming up with ideas at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And then waking up the next morning being like, oh my God, that joke was awesome. And then going over it again and being like, that was awful. That was not, it doesn't make sense.
I haven't gotten to the awful yet. I keep saying it. Every time we watch football now, Alan's like, there's your skit. I'm like, because it is, once you notice I'm doing it, it's pretty funny.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will maybe watch some football or
watch it
and
maybe you can flesh out the skit a little bit more for me over the restaurant coach's dinner. Yeah.
Okay, so here's a question, and this is it's regarding something you just said, but you said I could flesh out the script, but is it flesh out or flush out?
Do you mean flesh out like your flesh?
You said flesh out the script a bit, right?
Yeah.
Is that the right?
You think it's
flesh
out?
Flesh it out.
Like, spell what you're trying to say.
Yeah, like flesh, like skin.
I don't think it's flesh out. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. Flush out.
To
bring to light, make public or available, hoping to flush out something. Yeah.
No, it's also, there is flesh. To flesh out something means to put meat on its bones.
Oh.
It's also, metaphorically, it means to add details.
Oh, okay. So maybe flush out. I was using the flush out, which is like if there's a criminal, you flush them out of hiding.
Oh, yeah.
You're right. But flesh out, like to add meat on the bones. Okay. Look, speak and spell. You are right. I am wrong.
Speak and spell with Sis Tell.
Speak and spell with Sis Tell. That could be a new thing.
Well, thanks for listening to the latest episode of Sis Tell. Share us with your friends. Share us with your family. Share us with your foes.
As always, this has been Amanda and Alison with a whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. We'll catch you next time.